Anna Kauffman. Picture this. In the middle of the quad between the library and gym, there's a huge metal wheel mounted on an axle. Your task is to get that wheel to spin as fast and as long as possible. So, where would you begin? Personally, I'd recommend using the flywheel effect, a concept popularized by strategist Jim Collins and adapted by Amazon as its guiding business model. I first came across the flywheel effect while studying marketing analytics here at Juniata. In the business world, the flywheel replaces linear strategies with a dynamic approach to growth that harnesses momentum. While sustaining momentum is great for business and could be even used to spin the wheel on the quad, the flywheel effect got me to thinking, what if we looked at this concept outside of the office and it became the mentality through which we viewed the world around us? I believe in the flywheel as a powerful mentality that we need to adopt. To me, the flywheel image emphasizes the momentum required to make lasting social change. We need to harness momentum because progress is a cumulative process. Step by step, action by action, turn by turn, we can spin the wheel of progress to generate spectacular results. As a society, we can gain and sustain momentum by understanding the three core principles of the flywheel: the spark that sets things in motion, the friction that impacts our forward momentum, and the intentionality of where we place our energy. Let's start things off with a spark. You and I do not require an advanced knowledge of physics to understand how we can get the flywheel to move. In fact, it really just comes down to Sir Isaac Newton's first law of motion, which states a body at rest tends to stay at rest, and an object in motion tends to stay in motion. We need to be in motion. When we try to tackle a challenge, getting started is often the hardest part. It's important to recognize the dissonance between saying and doing. We must strike the first match and spark a fire within us to turn words into action. The flywheel mentality is burned in the forefront of my mind, though that was not always the case, nor did I really have a name for it at the time. December 2007, 7th grade, I watched as America elected, for the first time, an African-American president. On that day, President Barack Obama did not randomly appear on the ballot. He sparked a movement with his grassroots action. His influential promise, "Change we can believe in," was the axle by which his platform, his own flywheel, turned. With his powerful agenda behind him, Obama built momentum among the American people and inspired them to move. And at my young and impressionable age, President Barack Obama inspired me to move, to question, why did it take 44 presidents for us to see diversity among our leading officials? The flywheel can get us to move, to capture our momentum and manifest change. But first, we must recognize its potential. We must spark our initial push. We must live life like a flywheel, in motion. Now that you know how to get the wheel of change to move, let's explore how friction can impact our motion and forward momentum. If I were to cut in line at Baker at lunch rush, or eat my roommate's food without asking, what would happen? Honestly, probably not much. People are typically conflict averse. They don't want to generate friction between one another. Though friction is inevitable. It's science. Circling back to Newton, his third law of motion states that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. For all the good that can come from change, there will be resistance, doubters, naysayers, people who want the wheel to come to a halt. In the words of Frederick Douglass, an abolitionist who escaped slavery, without struggle, there is no progress. Friction is challenging each other's beliefs and opening the flow for discourse. But by the same token, friction also comes to being ignorant to some of today's most brutal realities of the world. Friction is vital to challenging assumptions. It's a series of checks and balances that serve a purpose. Friction is not a hard stop, but rather a regulatory process that ensures we do not spin out of control. Without friction, my sister would not be dating a first-generation immigrant, women across America would not have the right to vote, and my good friends who are members of the LGBTQ+ community would not have been legally allowed to get married. But we still have work to do. Climate change, gun violence, inequalities, nuclear proliferation, poverty, and an affordable education for all. These things all create friction, but the flywheel is designed to handle lasting social change. I've told you there needs to be a spark to get the wheel in motion. You know friction is vital to the checks and balances of society. And now I ask everyone, how do we intentionally use our collective energy to move beyond friction and sustain social change? To answer this question of intentionality, we can look at a successful business case. The number one principle that fuels Amazon's incredible growth is simple. According to Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos, the flywheel is a virtuous circle that would generate growth for as long as the company put the interests of their customers first. So, what is he saying? And what does that mean for us? As a society, to keep our flywheel turning, we must put our people first. Putting people first will change the way that we collectively face challenges. The power of the flywheel is that it's incredibly efficient at creating and releasing energy because no one person is in control. So let's go back to that flywheel on the quad. To get it to move as fast and as long as possible, think about the flywheel mentality. So you start with a push, but your effort goes unnoticed. You push again with great effort, and the wheel inches forward. You call out to people to join you in your efforts, a nearby student walking to class, President Troha, Mr. Oak from Baker, and many others. Soon, there are countless pairs of hands pushing the wheel. After minutes of exertion, the wheel finally completes one turn, then two. Push after push, turn after turn, the wheel's momentum builds steadily until at some point, aha, breakthrough. The wheel is powered forward through the force of its own weight in our intentional motion. Whose push tipped the scale does not matter. What matters is that we are in motion. I believe that living with a flywheel mentality enables us to harness and understand the energy we need to propel our society and world forward. We must break away from our rigid viewpoints and challenge ourselves to view the world dynamically. No matter how long it takes, no matter the resistance we face, and no matter how dramatic the end result, no average to awesome or good to great transformation happened in one fell swoop. There is no single defining action and no wrenching revolution. Each turn appears small and trivial initially, but creates the opportunity to move towards more ambitious results. As more and more results accumulate and more people throw their weight behind the wheel, momentum builds. It only takes one person to start a movement, but it takes all of us to sustain momentum required for change.